It's the modern entrepreneur's dream to have money rolling in from multiple streams of revenue with you doing as little work as possible. In fact, I would argue that this version of modern entrepreneurship has become so ubiquitous that we don't even notice it when we see it. We've become so blind to images of digital madmen who manage to live lavish lifestyles seemingly without doing much of anything. If they do something though, it's usually writing about or teaching others how also to develop streams of passive income. The sales pitch often focuses on how ridiculously easy it is to build up income streams and how if you're willing to put in some hard work up front, you can be on Easy Street, raking in tens of thousands of dollars per month while you sit back on a beach somewhere, sipping a cocktail and shoveling ceviche into your mouth. Throw in a few shots of sports cars and mansions for, good sake. If you're thinking it sounds too good to be true, it's because it is. Usually. I want to talk about passive income, especially the version that I call the cult of passive income, because what we often see represented to us as passive income in many ways represents the ideal scenario for part-time entrepreneurs, which is who we primarily serve at Howdy Curiosity. As a part-time entrepreneur, you do want to maximize your financial returns and stability while minimizing your stress, effort, and time commitments. It sounds like the two would go perfectly well hand in hand. And perhaps they can, but only if you tread carefully. To unpack the cult of passive income and how we got into the state we're in today, we need to go back in time. Not to the early 2000s and the dot-com bubble, or even the late 80s and early 90s when the internet was just starting to dial up its popularity. Great joke there for my fellow millennials. Instead, we need to go all the way back to 1924. The term passive income actually predates the 1920s, with some references to it also popping up in the 19th century. But it's in the 1920s when the term seems to start to take on some version of its modern context, in which it is understood to mean generating income without engaging in material participation of wealth-producing activities. The reason we start to see this term popping up in this context with greater frequency in the early 1920s is due to dividends. According to the website Tax Notes, dividend taxation had a greater significance in the 1920s, mostly because dividend yields were higher then, but also because dividend tax rates were higher. In the same article, they go on to explain what they mean about dividends being higher and more significant by stating the following. The S&P 500 stock index was not introduced until 1957, but economist Robert Shiller has constructed S&P 500 equivalent indices for earlier years, including the 1920s. Consider a hypothetical member of the ultra-wealthy in 1923 and 1924, with a net worth of $100 million, all of which was invested in the Shiller-constructed S&P 500. The dividend yield on the S&P 500 was 6.2% in 1923 and 5.4% in 1924. As for stock price changes, the S&P 500 index declined 0.9% in 1923 and increased by 19.8% in 1924. For the 2 years combined, our investor would have received dividend income of about $12 million and would have enjoyed unrealized appreciation of about $19 million, for a total income of about $31 million. If he had no other income and paid tax on the dividends at an average rate of 40% in both years, his 2-year tax of $4.8 million would have produced a ProPublica true tax rate of about 15.5%. Not terribly high, but perhaps not shockingly low, and certainly much higher than the rates calculated by ProPublica for today's billionaires. Unlike an actively managed stock portfolio, where you're buying and selling financial assets, a form of income known as portfolio income, that is not passive income, with dividend earning, you're not materially involved with generating wealth. You invested money up front in the form of acquiring shares of a company, but from there, your shares generate wealth for you based on the economic performance and value of that company. As you might expect, the popularity of the term passive income drops off a little bit after this little thing called the Great Depression hits. But it then has another bump in popularity through the 1940s. Then it returns to 1920s levels throughout the 50s and starts to climb again in the 1960s. Going into the 1980s, however, the term started to skyrocket in popularity, peaking in 1989. This seems to have been due to debate around the treatment of tax deductions for losses accrued through passive activities. According to a report published in 1990, along with the change in tax rate structure starting with 1988, the tax treatment of certain income and deductions was gradually changed. The phase-in of limitations on passive losses continued for 1988 and 1989, along with the phase-out of the itemized deduction for personal interest. However, as part of this 1989 tax code update, up to $25,000 in rental real estate losses were allowed to offset active, i.e. non-passive income. So, if we look at this roughly 65-year block, we see the term passive income being thrown around primarily as it relates to the tax code, especially with regard to dividends and real estate. The term's popularity fell steadily from 1989 to the 2010s, when it started to level out once again. That's when we entered what I consider to be the modern age of passive income. The traditional concept of passive income, dating back to the 1920s, still remains. In fact, the IRS's definition of passive income is semi-consistent with what it was almost a century ago. However, the concept of passive income in the public imagination completely changed as high-speed internet, easy-to-use consumer technology platforms, and monetization networks became more popular. When you search passive income on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or Reddit, you'll find tons of results. People share how they make thousands of dollars every month, typically emphasizing how easy and straightforward it is. They do this in several ways, like selling courses, ebooks, and digital products online, renting out properties on sites like Airbnb and Vrbo, or even managing vending machines in busy places. Especially with digital products, the lifestyle we see presented is incredibly alluring. Social media influencers, YouTubers, and TikTokers are the new era of celebrities, and many of them do have lucrative careers, even if they're short-lived, seemingly without having to do much traditional work, at least that we see. They've made aspirational branding into a somewhat viable career. So when a nameless figure we don't recognize pops up on our feed saying that they're making $8,000 to $10,000 per month on digital products, it doesn't feel that unrealistic. Someone making a few thousand per month with minimal effort feels perfectly reasonable when someone like Mr. Beast earns an estimated $3 to $5 million per month on his back catalog of old videos. And if they're earning passive income that way, why can't you? Here's where things get tricky. It's really hard to know if those people are actually earning passive income in the online sense or not. First and foremost, scams abound. One of the most common patterns you'll find online is people preaching the gospel of passive income and positioning themselves as experts on earning passive income so that you'll sign up for their newsletters or other services. Usually, this is so they can sell you on a course or product, not so you can actually learn anything about developing your own passive income streams. You see versions of this on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, where people will post about how they earned $8,000 last month on simple digital products that they made with the free version of Canva. And if you want to learn how, you just have to comment a specific word. They do this because the comments show engagement, which increases the likelihood that their videos get shown to more people. Sometimes they follow up with automated DMs, they link you to a newsletter or a course sign-up page. And again, it's just another form of aspirational marketing to drive more traffic to them. They never actually have any proof that they made that much money, aside from decontextualized screenshots, which, by the way, are really easy to fake. If you want proof, here's my bank statement showing that I earned $8.5 million last month. Another challenge with gauging the legitimacy of online passive income is how that income gets reported. You may notice that I've started saying online passive income instead of just saying passive income. Remember earlier how I said that the IRS has its own definition of passive income? Per IRS publication 925, which yes, I read so you don't have to, there are two kinds of passive activities. Trade or business activities in which you don't materially participate during the year. Rental activities, even if you do materially participate in them, unless you're unless you're a real estate professional. The document then goes on to define material participation and business activities over the course, I kid you not, of several pages. Frankly, if you're not keeping meticulous records of everything that you're doing in your side hustles and where all your income is coming from, and I'm not just talking about good enough to be compliant records, I'm talking anal retentive records, then it's going to be very hard to say whether or not your income from online entrepreneurial pursuits counts as passive income in the eyes of the IRS. I'm harping on this because in a New York Times article on passive income and people who have pursued it, the author specifically writes, while many people claim to be making passive income, particularly on social media, only 20% of American households earn such income, either through dividends, interest, or rental properties, according to Census Bureau data. And the median amount that those households make from those sources is $4,200 a year, according to Bureau figures. I don't doubt the author is right about the percentage of people claiming to earn passive income being smaller than the actual amount of people earning passive income. But I do suspect that nuance comes into the equation. What people online claim to be passive income may not be what the IRS identifies as passive income. Ultimately, what I'm getting at is that talk is cheap, and it's hard to back up the claims being made about passive income. And what I find particularly telling is that most of the posts I've seen about passive income and selling digital products or courses never seem to actually include the products or courses being sold. Because, again, the posters are typically selling the aspirational lifestyle of passive income and building a following based on that, rather than actually selling the products, goods, or services. So how did we get here? How did passive income go from being something we talked about in relation to tax policy tied to dividends to being a buzzword used to refer to get-rich-quick schemes and aspirational marketing? And does meaningful passive income via digital entrepreneurship even exist today? It's hard to pinpoint where in the 2000s online passive income took on its current form, but my theory is that it likely goes back to around 2002. Blogging had been around for several years by that point, with platforms like Blogger and LiveJournal, but it was in 2002 that we started to see self-hosted personal blogs, especially mommy blogs, gain significant momentum and popularity. Additionally, in August of 2002, PressFlex LLC tapped into the rise of blogging's popularity and launched a product called Blog Ads, one of the first consumer products that let customers place ads in their blog content. And less than a year later, Google launched its AdSense platform. With the introduction of advertising and swelling numbers of internet denizens finding new communities in the form of blogs for the first time, there was big money to be made in blogging. People with no pre-existing platform or formal writing background were able to build huge audiences by writing about relatable experiences. What made mommy blogging such a successful category for so many women, especially women from religious backgrounds, was that it created a sense of togetherness and recognition that women weren't getting from traditional media sources at the time. Women couldn't go to a traditional print magazine or turn on the news and find stories about how women were struggling with their faith, or were wrestling with postpartum or body image issues, or mother-in-law conflicts, or needing simple strategies for keeping their house clean, or balancing domestic life with work life. But all of those things and so much more were being written about by women just like them on blogs. And that's what made blogs so amazing and so novel back in the late 90s and early 2000s. They weren't overly commercial. They felt much more authentic, kind of like reading someone's journal or stumbling on a letter from an old friend. As blogs started being valid ways to make money, people did what people do. They started trying to figure out how to make the most money possible from their blogs. Some early bloggers documented their progress and experiments, like Pat Flynn, who started Smart Passive Income in 2008, to share what he had learned while building a popular blog for an architecture industry exam, and a number of copycats popped up in his wake. Flynn's Smart Passive Income blog was just one of several tipping points that brought us to where we are now. And to be clear, I actually really like Flynn and his work, and I don't blame him for today's state of affairs. The problem is that once information is out in the wild, people take it and run with it. And in an environment like online entrepreneurship, things change so quickly that a good strategy in January may be outdated or even harmful by May. So when blogs like Smart Passive Income and their copycats wrote about once popular blogging strategies like engaging with other blogs via comments, doing outreach to get backlinks, publishing content at a regular cadence, and so on, these bits of advice became solidified like gospel. And we got into a rut where passive income became synonymous with high velocity and somewhat spammy blogging. And then a few new players entered the scene, namely affiliate marketing, Gumroad, and Etsy. With affiliate marketing, which we've done another video on, bloggers could now promote a brand's products or services and earn a commission on those sales. The commission percentage per sale is much more lucrative than ads, typically, which often accrue value at a rate of a few dollars per 1,000 impressions. With platforms like Gumroad, Etsy, and the dozen similar storefronts, it was easy for anyone to sell and distribute their products, including digital products, regardless of the quality. Digital products have a particularly high profit margin too. Once you create them, you don't typically have to pay further costs to produce, store, or ship them, meaning each time someone buys it, the ROI is virtually 100%. Armed with new ways to make money online and increasingly outdated advice about driving traffic to websites proliferating online, we get to a phase of the cult of passive income where niche sites are God. Pick a niche, turn out content, and watch the money roll in. It doesn't matter if you're not an expert, don't add any original thought or unique value, or have a poor user experience on your site. What's important is that you get as many eyes as possible on your site and as many clicks as possible on your affiliate links. As that trend started to lose its grip on the cult of passive income, we started to see people getting more creative with how they approached passive income. Especially in places like Reddit, you'll see advice like buying up vending machines or ATMs in busy locations. Another common one is building no-code or low-code apps with tools and platforms like Bubble. While impractical, after all, low-code doesn't mean easy, vending machines and ATMs aren't cheap, and none of those options are easy to market, and none of them guarantee profitability. At least these options do provide a product or a service to end users, so I will give them credit there. But a lot of passive income advice is more generic. Let's take a look at the authoritative, trusted source of journalism, Time Magazine. In their article titled 11 Passive Income Ideas for 2024, two things jump out to me. First, they use a featured image of money reclining in a beach chair to emphasize that this is aspirational marketing at its finest. Second, right below that is their disclaimer reading, "Our evaluations and opinions are not influenced by our advertising relationships, but we may earn a commission from our partners' links. This content is created independently from Time's editorial staff." We're off to such a great start, aren't we? So what's on the list? What are these 11 ideas for passive income in 2024? Real estate investing with a link to an affiliate program you can sign up for. Invest in art or alternative investments with 2 links to affiliate programs you can sign up for. Sell designs or art online, you guessed it, more referral links. Invest in a high yield savings account or certificate of deposit, also affiliate links in this one. Buy dividend stocks, also affiliate links in that one. Affiliate marketing, peer-to-peer lending. Invest in real estate investment trust, REITs. Rent out parking spaces. Rent out a room in your home. Create an online product like a course, ebook, or workshop. To wrap things up, they were sure to include one more affiliate link for a banking offer. What I love about these suggestions is that the cult of passive income typically evangelizes to people who would genuinely benefit from having more income each month. The people who are most susceptible to aspirational marketing are the people who want to change their situation. But do you know how much money you have to invest in real estate, art, high yield savings accounts, dividend stocks, or REITs for the monthly ROI to be significant? It's enough that if you had that much cash sitting around, you're not Googling passive income ideas. Peer-to-peer lending, that is risky as hell. You're as likely, if not more likely, to lose money than make money. Affiliate marketing, I think I've said my fair share about that. It can be a decent avenue for making additional income if you have an engaged audience that genuinely wants recommendations. But if you're doing it just to promote products and make money, realistically, you're probably just going to flop. Renting out a parking space could be viable if you're in an area that has limited parking and you happen to be sitting on an asphalt gold mine. I'll give them that. For me, in a rural area, I couldn't earn a dime renting out my driveway for parking because the parking supply is high, the demand is low. Renting out a room, sure, roommates, that's a thing. Couch surfing, a thing. It's also a lot of inconvenience, but if you need the money, it could be worth it. Sure, great, we'll give them a pass on that one. Creating an online product, come on, really? The supply is so high and demand is so low that you have to have a huge platform already or be a sales and marketing machine to do well with digital products these days. There's nothing passive about that. Despite all the flaws with articles like this one by Time, who, by the way, I'm picking on them because they're Time freaking magazine, not some small-time blog run by a college kid. They can handle the criticism. Articles like this keep getting written because the myth of being able to gallivant around the world while money rolls in effortlessly continues to be incredibly appealing. In fact, I would argue that it's only gotten more appealing as inflation has made the cost of living go through the roof, making it harder and harder for most people to get by on a single income. And of course, there's this other flavor of the cult of passive income I've already alluded to, where they take the allure of passive income and combine it with the emoji-loving recruitment power of a pyramid scheme. I'm so sorry. Network marketing organization, and focus on generating a passive income by recruiting others to learn how to make a passive income despite never actually having produced evidence of earning a passive income outside of selling ebooks and self-recorded webinars about passive income. Can I say passive income more? Probably not. That's the content that really gets under my skin. I can't quite tell if the accounts that churn out this content, especially on video-driven platforms like TikTok and Instagram, do so because they're trying to truly take a pyramid scheme approach to generating income, or if they're just using the language and appeal of passive income to build a social media following and establish themselves as some kind of influencer more generally. Regardless, it has the effect of disproportionately impacting young and low-income people by separating them from their hard-earned cash for something that's ultimately pretty useless. I've yet to see real reviews of these courses, programs, and ebooks from passive income influencers that confirm actually learning anything valuable or going into the topics at a level deeper than what you can find for free in a quick Google search. I work in the tech industry for my day job, specifically on machine learning technologies. To say I'm plugged into the AI industry would be a little bit of an understatement. I bring this up because the proliferation of AI applications, in my opinion, doesn't really bode well for the general public regarding the future of low-quality passive income seekers with questionable ethics and short-sighted goals. As AI tools, particularly generative AI applications, become even more commonplace, I think we're going to see more and more people trying to figure out ways to get around Google's helpful content update algorithms that have temporarily decreased the visibility of niche sites. And I think we're going to see an even higher volume of low quality digital products like workbooks and ebooks, as well as sponsored social media content using generated avatars in place of real people, or just heavily modified or even entirely spun content. As a consumer, I think this is what makes places like the Howdy Curiosity community, where you can still gather in an online space without sponsored content, so valuable. If you're an entrepreneur or brand or someone trying to build a brand, I hope you see this as an opportunity to stand out by digging deeper and seeking opportunities to create truly unique content that no one else can, and connecting with your audience in a really authentic way. When everyone can churn out generated content and artificiality is the norm, you stand out by doing the opposite and focusing on quality and authenticity over quantity and trends. I've been referring to online discourse about passive income as the cult of passive income, and influencers in the space as MLM-style scammers. So you can probably gauge my general opinion on the culture around passive income in the digital entrepreneurship space. But I still want to directly address the question, does passive income actually exist? Or is all this talk about passive income a scam? After all, we've come a long way since Pat Flynn's initial days of launching Smart Passive Income and his mission to provide ethical advice about passive income. And it's an even longer way from 1920s dividend tax policy. Well, of course it exists. People do earn income off of things like dividends, real estate, investments, interest, and digital products that they aren't actively promoting. But one of the things I always say is that where there's money to be made, there are ethics to be lost. And so while passive income itself is not a scam, the online spaces centered on passive income are often riddled with scams and low quality content. Another challenge to consider is that with things like dividends, interest, and other investment-based income, you typically have to have a significant amount of wealth already for those investments to contribute meaningfully to your income on a monthly basis, or you have to consistently invest for a long time. If you're starting from scratch or can only invest a little here and there, it is a long game to accrue the kinds of investments you need for your monthly income to be meaningful. For example, if you had a spare $100,000, which for most people is an insane amount of cash to have access to, and invested that in a certificate of deposit with a 5.15% APY, then in a year, your total interest earned for the year would be $5,150. That's not enough to go gallivanting around the world. Many passive income cult members eventually leave the cult, but then join the church of real estate investing if they're wealthy enough to do so. Like financial investment products, real estate investing can be profitable if you have significant capital access up front. What people who post about luxurious lifestyles admit about real estate investing is that if you want to be a good landlord, and okay, I know that phrase can be tricky, so say your comments about there being no such thing as a good landlord. You know what I mean in this context. Chill. If you want to be a good landlord, you have to do a lot of work or hire a management company to be there for the hands-on needs of maintaining your properties. If you're constantly checked out, raising your rates, or neglecting your properties and tenants, you're a lawsuit away from having your passive income lifestyle sued out of existence. With strategies like affiliate marketing and selling digital products, there is some potential for true passive income in the online sense, if not the IRS sense of the phrase. But on both fronts, 99% of the people engaging in these tactics are frankly really bad at it. and have degraded the experience for the 1% of people who have an actual reason to be doing it. But if you have something unique and of value to contribute, you should do it. When you have an audience with a problem for which you are uniquely equipped to provide a solution, you have a business. If that business can generate revenue passively over time, that's a valid product. You just have to get really good at tuning out the noise and nonsense pervasive online and stick to your guns when solving for your customers and creating value. If you're not creating genuine value with your entrepreneurial efforts, you're wasting your time, my time, your mama's time, everyone's time. I think this is the longest video I've recorded so far for YouTube, and I said most of what I want to say about the cult of online passive income for now. If you're a digital entrepreneur looking to connect with other entrepreneurs who are looking to build slow, stable, and sustainable projects and not scammy get-rich-quick schemes, head over to connect.howdycuriosity.com/ent-cohort to learn more about opportunities for getting involved with the Howdy Curiosity entrepreneurial community. And if you liked this video or just dislike low-quality engagement farming content about selling low-quality digital worksheets made on Canva, be sure to subscribe to our channel and come back for more bad business advice deep dives, book reviews, interviews, and more. I'm gonna go pretend to do yard work, but really just go dig in the dirt for a while because it's finally summer in Kentucky. Bye, y'all!